You push open the shattered door of your home in Louveciennes, the hinges groaning against the weight of a silent, devastated space. The Franco-Prussian War has swept violently through the French countryside, and you have spent the last several grueling months shivering in a London exile, desperately trying to keep your pregnant wife safe from the advancing military forces. Now, the heavy, stale air of your commandeered house is suffocating. You step cautiously inside to find the floorboards completely caked with dried mud, shattered glass, and discarded military rations. But the true, stomach-churning devastation lies scattered beneath your boots. Over 1,000 of your canvases, an entire decade of your life's singular work, have been systematically destroyed. Prussian soldiers have thoughtlessly sliced your meticulously painted landscapes into long, crude strips, tying them around their waists as makeshift butcher aprons. Other delicate paintings lie face up in the overgrown garden, deliberately trampled into the dirt as mud mats for the troops to wipe their heavy leather boots. The sheer physical scale of the erasure is paralyzing. Your early career as Camille Pissarro has been entirely eradicated. Standing amidst the ruined canvas and the dried mud, you realize a brutal, unyielding truth. Your existence will be defined by the relentless pursuit of ideological and artistic purity at the cost of personal comfort. A lifetime of work can be erased in a single afternoon, forcing an immediate choice. You will either succumb to absolute despair, or you will begin again from nothing. 19 years earlier, across the Atlantic, you are suffocating under entirely different, far more luxurious circumstances. The blindingly bright port life of Charlotte Amalie in the Danish West Indies teems with sweating Afro-Caribbean dockworkers hoisting cargo, while bustling merchant ships crowd the sun-drenched harbor. You are 22 years old, physically shackled to a heavy wooden desk and an endless ledger in your family's prosperous hardware store. The comfortable, bourgeois mercantile destiny your parents have meticulously mapped out for you feels like an airtight velvet prison, slowly smothering your creative spirit. You do not negotiate your exit, nor do you beg for permission. You simply write a brief note on the store counter, pack a small bag with your brushes, and silently board a ship bound for the coast of Venezuela with a wandering Danish painter named Fritz Melby. There is a particular romance frequently assigned to the starving artist, a comfortable modern myth that suffering somehow inherently purifies the art. But in reality, severing the financial tether of a wealthy family is an act of sheer, terrifying freefall. You reject the gilded safety net entirely. Your true calling demands a complete and defiant abandonment of the wealthy world you were born into, trading a guaranteed life of colonial prosperity for the volatile, unforgiving whims of a brush and a blank canvas. By 1855, the intoxicating, chaotic pull of the Universal Exhibition draws you across the ocean to Paris. You fall deeply under the masterful tutelage of Camille Pissarro and join the experimental ranks of the Académie Suisse. Here, you absorb the radical practice of painting en plein air, dragging your heavy wooden easel out of the dim studio and directly into the shifting, unpredictable light of the French countryside. But it is your deeply personal life that triggers a catastrophic and permanent rupture. You commit an unforgivable social transgression by falling passionately in love with Julie Velay, a fiercely practical, working-class Catholic maid. When you marry her, the strict class prejudice of your bourgeois parents snaps shut like an iron trap. They immediately and permanently sever your financial allowance, abandoning you to the streets. The descent into poverty is swift, merciless, and humiliating. Pissarro, the rebellious island wanderer, rapidly becomes Pissarro, the desperate patriarch, constantly fleeing from rural creditors through the muddy Parisian suburbs. You cultivate sprawling vegetable gardens behind your rented shacks, simply to stave off your growing family's starvation. When the autumn harvest inevitably fails, you are forced to barter your original oil paintings for the most basic household necessities, trading a luminous masterpiece for a loaf of baker's bread or a sturdy pair of children's shoes. choosing authentic love and artistic freedom extracts a grueling, lifelong material toll. The devastating loss of your early portfolio to the muddy boots of Prussian soldiers leaves you with a profound, burning sense of urgency. Having started entirely from scratch in your middle age, you pour your immense energy into forging a radical new collective. Between 1874 and 1886, you become the only painter with the stamina and diplomatic grace to exhibit in all 8 Impressionist exhibitions. Behind the gallery walls, this avant-garde movement is a highly combustible powder keg of fragile, explosive egos. While younger men posture in cafes, hurl insults, and feud bitterly over manifesto details, you serve as the steadfast, immovable anchor. You project a mild-mannered, deeply bearded calm, moving through the storm with a gentle demeanor that leads Paul Cézanne to reverently refer to you as the Good Lord. History loves to elevate the fiery, temperamental genius who burns bridges to light their own way. But it is almost always the quiet, unglamorous peacemaker who actually keeps a fragile revolution from collapsing in on itself. Your steady paternal leadership holds the volatile group together. You patiently mediate the bitter disputes, organize the controversial gallery spaces, and ensure that the fragile dream of a truly independent artistic vision survives its incredibly turbulent infancy. Just as the Impressionist style finally begins to break through the critical hostility and find genuine commercial favor, offering you a rare glimmer of financial stability, you feel a deep, gnawing stagnation. At 55 years old, when most men happily settle into the plush rewards of their hard-won comforts, you pivot sharply. You adopt the painstakingly slow, meticulously dotted method of neo-impressionism, plunging your brush into the rigid scientific color theories of pointillism. Your longtime collectors are entirely horrified. The art market dries up instantly, and your absolute refusal to repeat a successful visual formula plunges your exhausted family right back into familiar destitution. Yet you will not compromise your integrity for a paycheck. Beneath your serene, sunlit landscape exteriors burns a fierce, lifelong commitment to radical anarchism, fueled by a profound, intellectual distrust of the French government and the capitalist system. This hidden, furious fire leaks out in private. You compile a grisly, heavily politicized sketchbook titled Turpitude Socialis and mail it across the channel to your young nieces in London, explicitly to educate them on the brutal evils of wealth. Its dark pages depict the bleak, crushing horrors of urban poverty, culminating in a stark drawing of an abandoned woman throwing herself off a bridge. You are an uncompromising revolutionary, disguised as a benign elder statesman, willing to dynamite your own hard-won success the moment it begins to feel like a commercial trap. The deep ideological fractures within your artistic circle finally shatter the group permanently during the late 1890s. The Dreyfus Affair aggressively tears the French nation apart, unleashing a wave of virulent, systemic anti-Semitism across the cultural elite. When a Jewish army captain is falsely convicted of treason and shipped to a penal colony, you flatly refuse to stay silent. You publicly and forcefully defend him, guided by your unwavering moral compass and your deep-seated anarchist distrust of the state apparatus. The social blowback is intimate, immediate, and devastating. The very community you spend decades nurturing suddenly turns its back on you. Edgar Degas and Pierre-Auguste Renoir, men you consider your closest lifelong friends and most respected professional peers, become staunch, vocal anti-Dreyfusards. The ultimate betrayal crystallizes in a single, agonizing moment on a busy Paris avenue. You watch as Degas and Renoir spot you approaching on the pavement, pause, and then deliberately cross the street to avoid walking on the same side as a Jewish man. We frequently assume that shared creative brilliance fosters a deep, shared humanity. Yet exquisite sensitivity to color and light does absolutely nothing to immunize an artist against the ugliest bigotries of their age. You are left standing alone on the bustling curb, isolated by your own convictions. Standing rigidly by your political and moral principles has cost you the very brotherhood you spent your entire adult life building. As the new century dawns, your resilient body finally begins to fail you. You develop a chronic, severely painful case of dacrya cystitis, an aggressive infection of the tear ducts. The late 19th century ophthalmic treatments are excruciating, subjecting you to regular surgical incisions and agonizing cauterizations of the lacrimal sac. The brisk outdoor winds that defined your entire career as an uncompromising plein-air painter now threaten to permanently blind you. You are violently forced indoors, wearing a distinctive dark pirate-style eye patch to protect your cauterized healing eye from drafts. You rent a series of high-level hotel rooms in Paris, Rouen, Dieppe, and Le Havre. Trapped behind the glass, you aim your brush downward, painting the bustling grand boulevards, crowded market squares, and smoke-stacked riverfronts from a steep, elevated angle. The visual results are electric. These sprawling, elevated cityscapes capture the frantic, smog-choked modernization of France with a fresh, sweeping vitality. In a stroke of massive, unforeseen irony, these window-painted scenes instantly become your most commercially successful works, generating an outpouring of wealth and financial security at the absolute end of your life. Your lifelong struggle validates a strange, triumphant truth. You spent decades navigating the relentless pursuit of ideological and artistic purity at the cost of personal comfort, only to find that a debilitating physical limitation inadvertently forced you inside, cementing your legacy.